I think I'm muted. So sorry. That was a terrible intro. So anyway, I was saying, welcome to another episode of the Gaming Academy. Welcome all dudes and dudettes, students of all ages. We are here with another episode to educate you on some gaming experience platforms, our own personal experiences, and maybe learn a little bit of something from myself and from the faculty. So we got a lot of good stuff happening tonight. In this week's episode, we're bringing you the latest updates and insights in the world of gaming. Get ready for another This Week in Gaming History, where we highlight iconic moments and game releases from years past. And then we're diving into Sony's latest PS5 sales figures. What do they reveal about the console's impact, and where are they headed? Plus, we'll explore why Sega is delisting some of its classic video games and what that means for gamers and collectors alike. And tune in for all this and more as we break down the stories shaping our gaming today. Also, we're adding another segment tonight called What's Your Deal? Hopefully, that segment will help educate you on some purchases down the road. Especially because Black Friday is coming up pretty soon here, and the holidays are coming up, and we want to be able to stretch out that dollar as much as possible. But with that said, let's get the show going tonight. And just like in The Legend of Zelda, with the old man giving you the sword, take this. It's dangerous. Don't go alone. My boys are here tonight, and we'll start with Mr. Nick, the Tragically Elite. What's up, man? How's it going?
I didn't know you go with me first.
Oh, you were there. You're the next one.
I'm usually expecting you to go to the man in the street, so I wasn't ready for that. I was still kind of like busting to move to the music you chose tonight for the lead into the podcast. So I appreciate that pick.
Yeah. Do you know where it's from? Out of curiosity.
I don't. I remember we were talking about it before, and I started to pull it up, but it gives me some nostalgia tingles just hearing it. Where is it from?
Yeah, so for those in the audience, I wanted something poppin' tonight, and that was from the Garden Level of Scribble Knots on the DS, which is very oddly, very catchy for what kind of game it is. So
I would say it is.
Yeah, it caught me off guard, and I was like, "This is poppin'. I love this." So awesome. Hey, anyway, speaking of poppin', how's it going? How you been? How's your week?
Going okay. I did not sleep well last night, so I am not popping like that song, but the energy from it does help. So I am still happy to be here. I apologize, I'm a little low energy tonight, but it's so good to see you and the people in chat already.
Awesome. I think they're already there. I should pop that up here in a second. Yeah, it is cold. It is often kind of windy here up in Bellingham, Washington. It is November 12th, so it is not going to be warm where we're at, and which makes things a little bit groggy and sleepy. I totally understand, but hey,
we got that high wind warning. Watch out!
So if we get cut off internet, that is the high wind, and that's not the ship from Final Fantasy.
It's just it's Mother Nature telling us that this thing blows.
Exactly. Something that doesn't blow, and which something is more blazing, is my man, the man on the street, the man on fire, the Blazing Ace Nelson. What's up?
How's it going, everybody?
Welcome, as always.
Man, firstly, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. Nah, I step outside and I'm done. I will be calling you in like 2 hours going, hey, man, can you send somebody to pick me up from Portland?
Yeah, it's like opening your door and just getting hit in the face with it as it blows back right away.
Ugh.
I mean, I have no defense on when it comes to the noggin. I don't have any hair, so it gets really cold, and I definitely a must have a hat, or a beanie is what they call it here. So, but yeah,
called something different elsewhere.
I don't know. Like, for example, when I first moved in Washington, they called like slippers totally something different. It's really weird.
I mean, that's like the soda and the pop conversation.
Yeah,
which came first.
That's kind of what
beanie,
I'm getting at.
What is it, beanie and what though? I'm really confused now.
Like you guys call hat, maybe sometimes we call it cap. We call it, I don't know.
Maybe
Midwest a little bit different. Jacket, coat, whatever, right? It just depends where you're from. It means all the same thing. So. But yeah, wanted to get some stuff cracking here. We got a lot going on in this week of gaming history. Apparently, it is getting close to the holiday season, so therefore, a lot of the releases will be familiar. Also, probably very relatable to everyone in chat today and to all out there. Just because historically, there's a lot of games on this list that shape me as a gamer as I am today. So hopefully, you guys will share that experience with us as well. Hello to Blue Rightbot and hello to Gorilla Chop. So awesome. Good to see you guys as always. Appreciate you. All right, gents, you ready, guys? Get going on some history.
Let's get to it.
All right, first one.
That was smooth.
All right, this week in gaming history, in 1110, which I think is the Sunday, StarCraft
Whoa.
2 Legacy of the Void Collector's
Ooh.
Edition came out on the PC in 2015. That is what, 9 years ago? My goodness.
Yeah. Do you feel like time has become a void, not just because of everything that happened during the pandemic? It's been that long since we've had anything a peep out of StarCraft. I
Yeah,
remember
well,
you and I were talking about this
man.
recently because you had gotten into StarCraft like after the fact, and I had played it up through the second expansion of StarCraft 2 because I love the original series. So I didn't buy Legacy of the Void. It's something I still haven't picked up, and now it's like it's almost 10 years old.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this is the first StarCraft 2 I played this year, just or I think around spring, right? And I have never played StarCraft 2 before. I played StarCraft 1, Brood War, right? Had many multiplayer matches with or without AI and other people. And 2 is amazing. And for how old it is, I was immediately hooked on the game. And I was so shocked of how good it was for how old it was.
Yeah. It's one of those games that I really feel shines a light on, was too good for its time. I remember when 2 came out, there was a lot of stuff kind of working against it, and people maybe didn't care for it as much or didn't sell as well as they hoped it would, kind of thing. But
Mhm.
it still holds up, like you said. And the moment that Xbox was talking about buying Activision Blizzard, we were talking about, hey, maybe this means like StarCraft or Warcraft could come back. And I know that, like I said, when you and I were talking, all of a sudden you got your hands on StarCraft and started talking about it again. I reinstalled it. Like I was like, oh yeah,
Did you?
absolutely.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
I can tell you right now, I don't want to do a review on this, but I think the reason why I enjoyed it so much was that the narrative was done extremely well in conjunction with the gameplay. That sounds like a out of the box cookie cutter review, but it's honestly what it was. I couldn't put it down because I always wanted to know what happened next, and as I was playing, I was given more information, more lore, more story, and I was involved. I honestly was like, "Hey guys, I'm busy today. I can't hang out. I'm gonna play more StarCraft."
Well,
Like
I mean,
that's
it
how I
might
felt.
sound like it might sound like a cookie cutter description, but when you really think back on it, that's the kind of experience you want with a game.
Yeah, it's like they made a good video game or something, right? So
Well, that's
that's
also
kind
the experience you want with StarCraft. Because let's be honest, one of the best things about StarCraft when it came out was really leveraging a lot of those scriptings that you saw in Mission. Like you
of.
said, it had that kind of like lore in the actual levels you were playing, and then it would cut to some cinematics that maybe haven't held up as well. But the new ones, like in StarCraft 2, this is peak Blizzard animation, like amazing graphics. I remember the trailer for the StarCraft 2, the first release launching, and they showed Jim Raynor in his Marine outfit. Like, awesome, awesome, awesome. Loved it.
Yeah, no, it's all thumbs up from me. And what I've noticed is that since this is the third expansion within the series, the like side missions that you get with it from the expansion were all extremely different from one another, which was amazing. I did not expect that. It was like an added bonus. I honestly felt like I got a StarCraft 2.5, 2.7, and 2.9 when I got the expansions, right? Just because each expansion offered a variety of gameplay. I don't want to go at it too hard because I can talk about StarCraft all night, but
Yeah.
some other releases this day that I'll cover is Dragon Ball Raging Blast on the PS3, which came out in 2003, and something that Jason and I would appreciate. Sengoku Basara Utage came out today, also on that day on the PS3 Wii in 2011, which is also oh my gosh, what, 13 years old. Ugh, gross. Dislike. Yeah, what do you guys have for November 10th?
One little point of industry talk was this day in gaming history in 2008. Ubisoft ended up acquiring Massive Entertainment from Activision Blizzard. Speaking of ActiBliz after StarCraft, yeah, that ended up getting Massive Entertainment under the Ubisoft umbrella. It included like the World and Conflict IP, but the games that came out with that you may have played since that acquisition, some big ones: Tom Clancy's Division, Watch Dogs Legion, Division 2, Star Wars Outlaws. I mean, even Far Cry 3 was actually done by Massive Entertainment, or they had a hand in it. So, I mean, some pretty big titles ended up going to Ubisoft from Activision Blizzard. Just think where those titles would have ended up being. And the only other one I had for this day was the original Medal of Honor on the PlayStation 1 that came out in 1999 on that day.
Good call. I did not play that one, but I do know many people that was their first Medal of Honor and enjoyed it for the PlayStation. So
Yeah, it was kind of big. Definitely worth mentioning.
yeah.
Oh
What,
yeah.
what you got?
Well, as for what I got for at least for the 10th, this one is something that's a little on the well, best way I can describe it is this one is a little bit on the divisive side in a lot of fighting game circles. Because on this day in gaming in 2003 released Bloody Roar 4.
Oh,
This one, while still developed by the team at Hudson Soft, this was the first, last, and only Bloody Roar game that was published by Konami.
and then it switched over to Hudson Soft.
Uh, no, no, it switched over from Hudson Soft
Oh,
to
to
Konami,
Konami. Gotcha. Okay.
and a lot of folks were like that horse on Ren and Stimpy. They were like, "No, sir, I don't like it." And to be honest, while I can definitely see where folks are not liking what went down with Bloody Roar, especially compared to 3, Extreme, and Primal Fury. One of the things that Bloody Roar 4 tried to introduce, aside from the 2 new characters, well, no, Nagi, Ryuho, and Reiji, so 3 new characters, was a career mode, which pretty much acted like Bloody Roar's equivalent to the Street Fighter Alpha 3 World Tour.
Oh, that's fun. It's always fun to have fighting games that have like some sort of like beyond, like beyond just like arcade mode, something a little bit more fun.
Yep, and that that I think was actually one of the highlights of Bloody Roar 4. It's something that, if anything, it could be applied to a new game in the series if development on a new one actually starts up. But again, the IP is currently held by Konami, so we're gonna have to wait and
Hostage.
see.
Yeah, hopefully. I would love it, like I said, to have Arc System working on Bloody Roar next, right? So that'd be good.
Agreed.
Before we move on to the next day, which is the 11th, I want to show off a little gem because we like showing off things on chat here on the stream. A sealed copy of the collector's edition of Legacy of the Void because somehow I forgot I owned it,
Bro.
and I was like, "What is this? It's heavy." Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
That's
I
awesome.
am
Yeah.
happy to own this guy. I'm probably gonna leave it sealed, to be honest with you. It's super cool looking. Kids, back in the day, PC games came in a box with instruction manuals and textual stuff and all the things. Just
And
letting you
even
know.
outside of collector's editions, sometimes they came in some pretty big boxes.
Yeah, huge. To have a PC box collection of games is like it's way more space than any other.
There
console
is
game
a
out there.
specific subset of video game collectors just for PC big box games.
Oh boy, I would. Okay,
Yeah.
we need to
It's
see
huge.
some of that
It's
stuff.
huge. It's I will say, like, maybe that's something we could talk about as we're talking about, gaming history. Maybe we go away from the daily thing and we talk a little bit about like some interesting stuff talking about like the past. Like big box PC games are crazy. I loved them as a kid.
Yeah.
And since we're on the topic right now of 11/11, Bloody Roar was actually on the 11th, but it just turned 21, so that's pretty cool. It can buy
Oh,
itself a drink.
Bloody Roar can drink now. And another thing that came out on the 11th was the legendary PS3 console launching in Japan in 2006. So, wow, that was a big one. This was Sony's leap from DVD to the Blu-ray, which is now the industry standard, which is amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the another format war. It wasn't VHS versus Betamax anymore. It was HD DVD against Blu-ray.
Gosh, anybody in chat remember HD DVD and the drive for the Xbox 360? Does anybody own one? Because I don't.
If you do, it's a paperweight at this point.
Yeah, with like what 200 movies or less, maybe. That's about it.
If that, and you had to plug it into your 360 and it looked like a mini 360. It was a cool idea. It was definitely what, like, for people who don't know, just like as a quick aside, it was crazy when this was a thing, a format thing, and then finally finding out, if you're used to like the console wars and PlayStation versus Xbox, like the thought that eventually Microsoft would have to pay Sony for Blu-ray to make their games on Blu-ray, like,
Ooh,
that
Oh,
was crazy.
yeah, that's an extra, just a little extra jab, little twist in the war there. So I love that. Yeah, I'll leave the next one specifically for Nick. But another game that came out today was The Legacy of Kain: Defiance on the PS2 back in 2003. For some reason, 2003 felt not that long ago, but it is 21 years 22 years ago, man. It's
Mm.
crazy. And I still remember seeing the box art for this game. And was this the one with Raziel and Kane on the cover? This was like the cool one, right?
I believe so. Defiance, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought like, wow, they're actually like teaming up to fight a harder force. That was cool.
Whoa, bro, are they
Yeah,
teaming up?
yeah. That's exactly what 2003 James sounded like, bro.
Oh
Kane
yeah,
and Kane and Raziel, so sick, bro.
yeah. It's both of them on that. That's that red cover art.
Yep, I remember that. Yeah, Nick, take it away, man. This one's a big one.
You were talking about owning physical copies of something. I don't know
Yeah.
if you grabbed a picture of the cover art, but one of the games kind of known notoriously in the entire industry is you've bought this game at least 6 times because of the tail on it. This day on 11/11/11 was Skyrim, Elder Scrolls
Ooh-wee.
5.
oh, oh
Huge
no.
release. Huge
Yeah.
release. I don't know how many copies you two have owned throughout time. I've owned a lot of copies, almost as many times as I've rebought Borderlands 2 in all its different formats. But this was a big game for me, just for the fact that I actually didn't like Oblivion. Like, Elder Scrolls really wasn't my thing. I got really into it with Skyrim, and a lot of people did, right? It kind of set the standard. This is like the game that blew up and everyone had to play it. Very easy to get into, very approachable, right? For me, it was a midnight launch at GameStop when I was working there. And the store manager at the time, what we did is, to keep people entertained while they're waiting in line to get their Dragon Statue Collector's Edition for this game, is
Mhm.
we would set up milk cartons on the side of our store. And you two have been there to the GameStop on Sunset. That's the one I used to work at.
Mhm.
So that little like walkway between the Rite Aid and the like cigar shop that's there
Yep.
now, that big hall, we used to like set people there. We set up milk cartons and launched exercise balls at them like Angry Birds, because that was the thing to do. Like, we had a whole thing where we'd stack it up, knock it down. Like, that was one of my favorite memories about doing midnight launches. It was just stupid, goofy fun you were able to have, but it
Yeah.
kicked off Skyrim. Like, had nothing to do with the game, but I don't know about you two. Do you have any fun memories of like this game that became a thing on 11/11/11, which was just awesome?
Aside from the absolutely bonkers mods and glitches that I've seen for it, the number of times that I have actually owned Skyrim is exactly 0.
Wow.
My Skyrim was Dynasty Warriors 8.
Oh, fantastic.
To no one's surprise.
Yeah, anyone who's listened regularly, no surprise
to,
whatsoever.
to the surprise of absolutely nobody.
At least
I
he's consistent.
Yeah, you're consistently bad and stabbed my premise, right in the heart. So I, appreciate that, Ace, as always.
I mean, I have played Skyrim though, and what I have played of the game, I absolutely enjoyed. And again, this is outside of the Macho Madness mods and just the absolutely insane gravity and collision glitches.
My favorite was whoever replaced the arrow shooting noise with someone going pew every time it fire. Look it up on
That
YouTube. It's hilarious.
that is
But just like
awesome.
the little mods, yeah, the whole mod scene too. But yeah, Skyrim was huge, and that's definitely something worth remembering. Another couple ones on this day, just really quick. Beyond Good and Evil and PS2, that released in 2003 as well.
God, they
So
were
you
still
had
releasing
Legacy of
PS2 games?
Kain and Beyond Good and Evil on the same day. crazy.
From Ubisoft,
And
right?
also, what was that?
They're both from Ubisoft.
Yes.
I feel like because Legacy of Kain was
No, Legacy of Kain Defiance was developed by Crystal Dynamics and
okay.
published by Eidos.
Gotcha. Oh,
That's right.
Eidos. Okay. Yeah.
That's right. Crystal Dynamics and Eidos, because they were still publishing the Soul Reaver stuff too.
Yeah. And the only one I had for this day in 11/11/14 was Assassin's Creed Rogue, which a lot of people ended up loving as well because you actually played the story of a Templar.
That was cool because I remember like, oh, you're playing the bad guy. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that one honestly a little underrated. By that point, I was a little burnt out in the Assassin's Creed series.
Facts.
I didn't play it, then. I played it after the fact, after I kept hearing positive things about it. It's something that I don't think a lot of people played for the same reason I just mentioned, but it's still consistently brought up as one of the better made titles as well. So, yeah, just interesting.
My only Skyrim story was that I know there's a giant line, and I was in line for not Skyrim, but I do own 2 copies of Skyrim. And then the only other thing I can think of is that the Japanese market uses Skyrim as a benchmark for like RPGs now, and they try to emulate it as much as they can because they want those Skyrim numbers, right? Unfortunately, I did not get Skyrim on launch because I only had enough money at the time, chat, for one game. And another game came out that day, or like a day before that, was Dragon's Dogma, and I chose Dragon's Dogma over Skyrim. So I'm Capcom loyalist.
Well, that's okay. Even without you and Ace buying it,
yeah.
As of June last year, it sold more than 60 million copies.
Ah, that's it. Rookie numbers.
Rookie numbers. Right?
Rookie numbers. All right. You're gonna be here all night talking about Skyrim. All right, next one here. November 11/12, PS5 came out in 2020. So that's 2 PS consoles coming out in this month. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Do you guys see a pattern yet?
PlayStation.
here's the thing, right? We knew this came out 4 years ago, but who actually owned one the first year it came out? Because we all know that it
Not
was
I said the Negro.
very hard to get one for the first like couple years.
I think I got one at the end of the so within the first year I got it, but I definitely had to buy it because every store was doing it this way. I had to buy it as a bundle. So, it was more expensive, so I had to save up for it. I traded in a bunch of stuff that I wasn't really using anymore. I had actually in 2020 left my job in the retro game store, and I moved into the position I've talked about before in this on our podcasts. So I had a bunch of just gaming stuff that honestly I had collected in the process. As you know, working in the game store like that, you just kind of buy things that come in on trade, or you see the things first and you just start collecting things for no reason. I started to get rid of a bunch of my stuff and stuff that I didn't really feel I had a need for. So I mean, I kept my steel books, of course. I don't really need for that, but apparently I thought that was worthwhile, and I got rid of a bunch of stuff like my PS3 that I never really played anymore, that kind of thing. So yeah.
I mean, you don't really need a PS3 anymore unless you're going to play those hardcore PS3 only games, right? But because PS5 is a great upgrade in comparison to the 3. But yeah, I didn't get mine until like Andre and Chad here. I didn't get mine until 2022. I had to talk to 3 different people. Somebody knew somebody that knew somebody, right? And they worked at Costco and they hooked it up. So that's how I got one. And that was literally had to buy it from her trunk. So
hey, I mean, as we've just seen with the Pro model, man, like people buying them and trying to hawk them, like it was crazy, and the prices went insane for the first little bit there.
Yeah, yeah, because it was a chip shortage, right, at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my PS5
issues
global wide, yeah, for sure.
I got my PS5 back, actually around this time in 2022.
There you go. So 2022 was, I guess, the year for everybody else here. Yeah. Except for Nick. Nick got it like what?
2022 within a year. I got it within a year. But I had gotten rid of a bunch of stuff, like just stuff I wasn't using, like PSVR, my PS4. I got rid of my PS3. I kept my PS4 because I have a bunch of titles to that I love and I still go back and play. But it's just like like we were talking about, I just looked at that stuff on the wall and I'm like, honestly, will I ever play this?
That's fair.
Versus will I play a PS5?
Yeah. That's fair, and I'm surprised because the PS5 plays 4 games. I figured you'd keep the keep the 3 and then trade in the 4. So, but
There was just some titles that don't, from what I remember, or didn't work at the launch,
Mm.
at
okay,
least, or didn't have like I was waiting for a lot of them to have like the HD updates, the kind of thing where you
yeah,
can put in the game and you can buy the PS5 version for $10,
gotcha.
kind of
Yeah,
thing. So it's like
we,
I already own the game. I'm not going to buy it again,
yeah, the
Yeah,
but
upgrade.
I'll buy it.
Yeah,
just getting the disc upgrades.
Yeah,
yeah. We forget that when these consoles come out now, they're sometimes a bit different than they are when in the present. There's a lot of updates that happen from when launch to current status, right? So, but yeah, I'm glad everybody has one. Great. And I don't know. We'll talk about the Pro in a bit here, but another game that came out during the 12th of November was Metal Gear Solid 2: The Sons of Liberty, back in 2001, making it 23 years old today. This game was my most anticipated PS2 title just because I played the demo on the Zone of the Enders game, and I was like, and that was only the
oh,
reason
that's
I
right.
bought it, right? And I was like, the only reason I want to buy Zone of the Enders is because they have a demo for the Metal Gear Solid 2 game. And I was like, all right, I guess they got my money. And I played it and I was like, Zone of the Enders is actually kind of fun, and especially it's directed by Hideo Kojima. But the demo, I remember just going back to it and doing whatever I can. Like, I was trying to max out all the physics and like whatever the game can do and how intelligent it was for a PS2 title, guys, back in 2001. Stuff like that in '01 was super impressive, and that's why it's very important to me.
It's
So,
still impressive to this day, frankly.
oh yeah, in comparison to a lot of games, for sure, absolutely. I'm just talking about the hardware. They like maxed out the PS2 with that game, so it's kind of impressive for what it is. What do you guys have for the 12th?
What for the 12th? The big one that I got, and this one, man, this one is a classic that always tugs at the heartstrings whenever I sit down and play it. Probably my favorite Zelda game, if that ain't Hyrule Warriors. Brave Fencer Musashi.
That is a name I would have never thought of mentioning on this channel, but that's amazing.
Like, Brave Fencer Musashi is like the quintessential 90s RPG. I mean, it's got everything from the cheesy dialogue to, you know, certain voice actors that we know and love today, also cutting their teeth in Musashi. Like, I mean, Steve Bloom was on the cast. Let's see, Steve Bloom, and I forget the lady's name, but she was the voice of Izzy in Digimon. But she was also Musashi.
Probably
And
Tara Strong. She's in everything.
I mean, you're running around this little blue-haired midget with two swords, and just again, the dialogue, the humor in the game, you know, it's charming from top to bottom. And
For me, the plot is just like you named your young boy Musashi. Of course, that person's going to be reincarnated from the legendary brave fencer Musashi. Now he's going to live up to that. Just
right,
a boy known as Musashi, reincarnated from the legendary brave fencer Musashi, who saved the Alakanite kingdom from a monster called the Wizard of Darkness.
Sounds awesome.
oh
Not gonna
yeah,
lie, that sounds
all you
cool.
can eat kingdom versus the thirst quencher empire.
Finally, some action in my RPG.
We're talking about
Exactly.
creativities. Man, they went in on creativity in this game. My only like notable memory, well, not only, but the one that stands out the most was that for a kid, this kid's got some badass what do you call it, sideburns. From what
Mhm.
I was like, that's what I was thinking when I was looking at the art when I was a kid.
It's
So
those
back
eyebrows too.
back in
It goes off his face
1999.
by like 4 inches.
But with Musashi though, like another thing, much like how with Zone of the Enders, you got that demo for Metal Gear Solid 2. With Brave Fencer Musashi came the demo that introduced us not only to that baller opening mission in Final Fantasy VIII,
Oh yeah.
But that was the same demo disc that introduced everybody stateside to Xenogears.
Chat, I gotta know for the chat that's here, like, yay or nay on Gunblades. Are they cool? Are they dank? Or are they crap?
Okay, first, okay,
Dank or crap?
I wanna contribute to this conversation. Squall's Gunblade, booty. Cypher's Gunblade, on the other hand, pretty boss. That's all
Oh
I'm
yeah,
saying.
the Beretta.
Yeah, yeah. The Bladeda, that was what I called it.
Yeah,
Back then.
the Beretta Gunblade, excellent. Revolver Gunblade,
Kind of wet, kind of wet.
But then
That's all
look
I'm
at
saying.
the Gunblades in Warframe.
Now you got us on a Gunblade conversation.
Yeah, we're
What
gonna
did
talk
you do,
about
Nick?
Gunblades the rest of the night.
What did you do here? What did you do? Some other
I had to
notable
know.
titles.
I had to know if they were dank or not. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Some other notable titles that day. Let us not forget the Resident Evil 0 on the GameCube back in 2002. The parkour game of the year, Mirror's Edge on the 360 back in 2008. And Black Ops 2 in everything in 2012. My favorite Black Ops. Yeah, Call of Duty just keeps sneaking into this podcast every day, every week. I swear to God. So let's
This day
see.
in gaming history, a
Double
Call
checking
of
on
Duty
there's no
game.
Call of Duty. Yeah, 2013 in 11 13 more Call of Duty came out. Something that's not like Call of Duty, in my opinion, is Crisis came out on November 13th on PC in 2007. I chose this specifically for myself because I actually remember hanging out with my friend Matt, and he had like the best computer out of all of my friends, and he used this game as like the benchmark for his how cool his computer was. And he was like, look, I can shoot the trees from different levels, and look at the physics. He was like trying to show me everything. I can shoot the leaves. It's kind of annoying, honestly, but I was so happy that he was enjoying like his powerful PC while I was like still playing on console like a pleb.
That
So
that game started a PC upgrade, like, I want to say arms race for an
yeah, yeah.
entire like industry of people. It
No,
became a thing like, can it run Crisis? Like,
Yep,
it's really hard to overstate
that
like
was the
how
thing.
much this game changed a lot of people's approach to PC gaming. Like, all of a sudden you had to have the PC that could run Crisis, and when you did, you were off of this amazing fidelity that you'd never seen before. We won't talk about the game maybe not being the greatest, but I mean, you for the longest time you had to have like, oh god, you had to have the Gibson that had to be hacked in order to like run this game. It was insane
Melting
what this game
everyone's
did.
computer.
It melted everything.
Yeah.
yep.
It's funny because like I think a lot of like media and a lot of like, social spaces at the time, they didn't really talk about the game. They just talked about the performance of the game. And so for the longest time I didn't even know what the point of this game was. So I did play like the first area, I guess. And then I didn't even realize I was in North Korea. And I was like, what is this game about? And then it's like, are they speaking Korean? That's like, I was like so lost because no one ever talked about the game, just the performance of the game. So I was
And
just really
for a
confused.
little bit of like meme history, like the Can It Run Crisis, the Can It Run whatever was started because of this game. It
Mm.
really was a game that was too advanced on its higher settings for most things on the market. Like, it released with the idea of that people were running it on dev computers, essentially, the stuff that's like more future stuff. And they're just like, yeah, just release it out there. If they can't play it, oh well, it's their loss.
Out of curiosity, what was the bombest video card at the time when this was out? Was it already Nvidia? I feel like it wasn't. I feel like it was like Radeon or something because it was like 3D effects was coming out the window already.
When it was first released in 2007, the GeForce 8800 GTX was
There it is.
considered to be the fastest GPU.
That's right. That's
It
right.
had a core clock of 575 megahertz,
Ooh.
384-bit GDDR3.
Oh my gosh. The people, current people now in the present, they're like, what is that? That's my phone's faster than that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I've always looked at like going back and like building a retro computer to kind of recapture some of those games, the big box PC we talked about earlier that I really wanted to play. It's crazy. There's entire communities devoted to finding the best parts that you can to build a Windows 95 or Windows 98 computer.
It's weird.
And looking up the old like voodoo boxes that we were talking about before is a trip
Mhm.
down memory lane just to see like the crazy like acid or LSD inspired like 3D robots that you used to see on the front of those boxes. But
Yeah.
then you get the card and it was like that big with one fan on it. It was bright red. You're like, yeah, now we're in the future, boys.
Right.
What are you running at home?
Not
Of course,
crazy.
PlayStation 2. A couple more notable releases that day for me was the Final Fantasy 9 game on the PlayStation in 2000, which was the Final Fantasy I thought that was like, I feel like if Disney and Final Fantasy made a game together, it would be Final Fantasy 9, not Kingdom Hearts. But that was before Kingdom Hearts. But this is the game that I thought it was. And also, Scribblenauts Unlimited on the 3DS and the Wii U back in 2012, which is not where our intro music came from. That one actually came from the DS, the original Scribblenauts. So, fun fact there. What about you guys?
I'll let Ace go first because I've got more on that day, and I'll try to be quick because I know we got some more days. And we got plenty of fun stuff to talk about.
Yep, the big one for me that came out on the 13th of November, which this right here actually counted as my birthday present back in 2000. Skies of Arcadia on the Dreamcast.
Oh, yeah, I saw you playing that on stream a few times.
Yep. Surprising absolutely no one. Skies of Arcadia it still is one of my all-time favorite JRPGs. I will, like, whether it's on stream or just on my own, I will go back and play this bad boy from scratch. Oh, back when I still had my Dreamcast, I actually had a physical copy of Skies of Arcadia. And guess what? The next time I pick one up, I'm going to try and find another physical copy of Skies of Arcadia.
I mean, not to sidebar the conversation, but I really hope they do a Dreamcast Mini down the road. I really hope they do.
I mean,
Same.
they've done a Atari one, and they did an Intellivision one. Like, come on.
I know. Sega, come on, man. Come on, man. That's all I gotta say. Give it to us.
The world is waiting for the Dreamcast too.
That's right. In our dreams. Dreamcast. That's the hint there. Let's see what else we got. We had Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles on the Wii in 2007. That was the rail shooter one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Assassin's Creed, the OG, the one that started it all back in 2007, also on the PS3 and 360. Not the most popular one, but it is the one that started it all.
It did start it all. It was one that it was really cool to go back to play Altair in like one of the later games, but I never really I liked the first one, but I didn't really get into it. It was two that kicked it off for me, but we've talked
Yeah.
about that before. The ones that I wanted to mention for this day, Blade Runner on the PC was super cool to see that and the original cover art for that. A lot of people don't realize that that had a game in '97 in Blade Runner. 1113 in the year 2000. I don't know if you two had to deal with pop-ups and having to deal with logging into multiple different services before you could play your game, like we talked about recently for Black Ops 6. But in the year 2000, GameSpy Arcade launched. That whole,
Jesus.
yeah. So I feel old about that coming in before that shut down. I mean, that was, yeah. You're getting flashbacks.
I would say GameSpy Arcade was the AOL of matchmaking. Back then, that's what I remember it as. Like, man, this is like the AOL of matchmaking. It was so like green, and it was just like, what is this? Is it? Am I getting hacked right now? Like, from what I remember, that's all.
It
I
was
remember.
green and black and had the spy dude with a
Yeah, exactly. That's like,
spyglass.
am
You're
I
just
getting
like,
hacked
what?
right now? That's
Why
don't
do
have
all
a
hack
shady
time?
detective spy as your mascot for a app. It's not great.
Well, that's maybe why they've shut down. But that happened. In 2007, kind of another quick thing to note, just because we know, we just mentioned their name, but huge in the game industry for a long time. In the year 2007, on this day in gaming history, Atari announced their exit from game dev and went solely over to publishing and distribution. So no more games from Atari. You started seeing all their stuff being made by other teams. They send that license out, but they're still going to be publishing it at that point. And the only big thing I really want to mention, my own personal game that I played way too much of in 2008 on this day was World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King when it originally launched. I will I'm sure we'll talk about it on a different podcast, but just to say, like, I didn't play WoW when it first came out. At the time, I was working at GameStop. It was kind of, I remember the conversation around it being when that game launched in '04. It was like, oh, the people that play like D&D and a lot of like super nerds or like really into RPGs, like they play that game. I'm not going to get into it. And then, it became the phenomenon it was. A lot of people consider Wrath of the Lich King to be the peak, and Blizzard's tried to recapture that, like going back to multiple points. I played Classic when it came back out and played through Wrath again before I stopped when Cataclysm Classic happened. But yeah, makes me feel old just remembering when that came out in '08 and I was finally falling down the rabbit hole. Like I was really into it at that time. And that was a huge game in my personal history.
Yeah, I remember playing WoW on launch, and I was like amazed by like, wow, am I playing with like other people in this universe? It's super cool. I rolled a human paladin and it was hot trash, and I thought the game sucked. So, and then yeah, and I stopped playing because it's subscription based. I was like, man, I'm not gonna play a game that where it doesn't feel good to play, right? And then they eventually patched it, made it better, and I really got into it. I was also like unemployed for a while, and that's what I was doing.
I was just
So,
gonna say, like, I remember when WoW first came out, I was literally couch surfing and working at GameStop part time and Red Robin part time. Like, I don't know how I could afford like
yeah,
anything in order to like play that game, but I made it happen, which makes me feel like really dumb nowadays when you think about like how expensive things are. It's like I
yeah.
was able to pay rent and like pay a subscription and all this stuff, and my car, back in the day on two measly paychecks at like two very part-time jobs. Anyway, on to the 14th. Let's move on through.
This is a fun stream, guys, not negative.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, right. Oh my God, it's
This is a
it
fun
gets me
stream, not a
again.
struggle stream.
All right, on the 14th, what do we got? Let's see here. Well, looks like she's been on this channel before. We talked about her, Lara Croft Tomb Raider, back in November 14 on the PlayStation in 1996. The what do you call this? The venerated sex symbol of video games at the time. So
Wasn't Croft the first like animated character to end up on like Playboy or something back in the day
oh
too?
yeah, like the non-human to end up on
Yeah,
Playboy. Yeah.
yeah, like that was the spread to buy apparently.
Yeah, I'd say at the time, yeah, for sure, extremely relevant for sure at the time, and it's for something in the video game industry to like appear in a men's magazine where they would probably not even think about having video games in it. I think that was definitely very cool that Lara Croft. Matter of fact, I'm kind of curious where like if that issue's still around. That'd be a good piece of like history to grab. But yeah, 19,
I don't know if you just like I got my Playboy from '96.
I know. I don't know. I didn't even know that until now, but that'd be kind of cool to see like how much it's going for and everything. So, and then let's see here, a few more titles here like Resistance: Fall of Man and on the PS3 in 2006. I figured I would bring that up because where the hell has that been? And it's a PlayStation title.
Uh-huh.
God Eater 2 on the Vita because we've got a couple hunters here in the Academy on the PSP on 2013. And my personal favorite in 2019, because I was extremely impressed for what it was Terminator Resistance. Came out on the PC in 2019, which was like a very like light Fallout type of game in the Terminator universe.
Huh.
I did not expect that coming. I thought it was just like a generic first person shooter, but there's like a crafting system. There's a survival mechanic to it
Okay.
in the Terminator world, which I was like, wow. And it's from like a really small dev team, like Halicon, I think. And I was very extremely impressed. I wasn't expecting a lot, but I was very impressed from what I saw. So, Ace, you got something on this list? What do you got?
Yes, I do. For November, where are we at? There we go. For November 14th. Oh, for my FGC heads out there. SVC Chaos, SNK versus Capcom, released on November 14th, 2003. Now, y'all know, I mean, this game, it just re-released on current consoles. So if you wanted to go ahead and pick that up, by all means, feel free. But this is definitely one of the I would say oh, it's hard to describe because of just how unique this game is. It's not, it ain't, Capcom Fighting Evolution, but SVC Chaos didn't necessarily get the same amount of shine as the Capcom side of the crossovers did with Capcom versus SNK 1 and 2. But SVC Chaos it had an interesting roster, among among them being, what was it? It was Marco from Metal Slug, along with the Martian or Mars people. On the Capcom side of the roster for SVC Chaos, we actually got Mega Man Zero. So, again, it was really interesting seeing, Capcom characters animated using, using SNK sprites and techniques, and it made for a fun and visually interesting game for sure. And again, the best I can say is just check out some of the gameplay now that it's back on the market as a re-release from SNK. But it's definitely something to check out.
Yeah, I would argue that this is probably around the same time where Capcom versus SNK was released also. And if you guys are wondering, that was developed by on the Capcom side, but they were sharing IPs and characters with one another. I would say SNK versus Capcom plays a little bit more like Street Fighter Alpha and the Third Strike series, while SNK or SVC Chaos plays more like a King of Fighters game because it
Yep.
was developed by SNK. So if you're wondering, this is kind of a cool rhetorical. If what would happen? How would a game feel if it was designed by SNK versus you know Capcom, but they have the same characters in it? This is the rhetorical coming to life right here. So
Mhm.
it plays totally different. So if you're a fan of King of Fighters, it's probably going to be more comfortable for you. But if you're a fan of SNK versus Capcom or Street Fighter or Third Strike, it's probably going to feel a little bit off just because it is developed by SNK. But the characters are all there. I love it. The Nightmare Geese is there. Red Armor is there. I think Dimitri is there too.
Mhm.
All these characters that didn't show up in the other games popped up on there. Super cool. And since it got re-released, the hard copy on the Xbox, which is not released on the PS2 during that time, dropped in price. So if you're looking to collect, now's a good time. I don't know if you guys own a copy of that. I know I don't because I didn't have an Xbox. No,
But
okay, all right.
Nope. Womp womp.
No
but
Xbox
let's
fans
see.
here.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yes, Xbox fan. I was just waiting until the next day in gaming history to kind of move
Gotcha.
through it. Because on the 15th of November in 2001, the original Xbox console was released.
Oh, there we go. That's why I didn't have one. It
whoa.
wasn't out yet.
Yep, wasn't out yet. One day. Yeah, that releasing, I remember at the time I was working my high school job, and some member that came into the athletic club was one of the people that happened to buy the Xbox day one. And I was able to go over there and see Halo, and it blew my mind because on this same day, with the OG Xbox, was the original Halo Combat Evolved in 2001.
I
Mhm.
mean,
Happy
it didn't
birthday
come
to
with
me.
it, right? Let's
It
be
didn't
clear.
come, no, it wasn't bundled with it, but it was the killer app. It was the
Okay,
reason to buy it,
gotcha.
so everyone had it.
The
I don't know
Mario
if it got
World.
bundled. I'm sure it got bundled eventually, but day one, I don't think it was. I don't remember it being that way because I'm sure
I
they didn't know how well it would sell.
I think there was a bundle post launch, but not
Yeah.
on launch. Yeah, that's why I was like, I feel like it was bundled, but yeah, the was that the 15th? Yeah, Xbox 2001, 23-year-old man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's super crazy. I don't know how many nights you spent up running around like Blood Gulch with your friends, ramping off each other in warthogs, or someone sneaking up to get the sniper rifle up in the hill. Like that game changed a lot for me, and I'm a huge Halo fan. We've talked about that too, just kind of where we felt the entire series is gone, but that kicked off then and there for me on the 15th. The only other things I want to mention for that day, really quick, was Descent 2 on the PC. I loved
Mm.
Descent 1. Descent 2 came out. It was
Mhm.
badass to get that cover out with like a new, even more polygonal looking thing. Like, loved it. One thing I did want to mention in 2002 on this day was Digital Extremes actually opened their new London office. They are worth mentioning, definitely, just for the fact that some people have played their games recently. I knew them as like the Unreal like tournament team. They did 0304, but they went on to do Warframe and help on that. So Warframe is huge right now, and this part of their team got their start in 2002 on this day.
Oh, cool. No, that's pretty sweet. I did not know that actually. That's pretty cool. I wasn't a huge Descent fan. It was actually one of the first games that made me like sweaty and like vomit because it was like, you
Motion
know,
sickness.
yeah, motion
Yeah.
sickness. But
Ah,
I will say, have you guys played the offshoot game Descent Free Space?
Yeah.
Okay, so for
For
what
me,
it was,
anything Descent, I had to play.
yeah. And so for what it was like not it was different because it wasn't like in tunnels, right? It was like you're in outer space, and that's why I think I was doing a bit better on that one. But yeah, it was oddly enough the story in that game was amazing for how little like interaction you would get outside the ship. It was great, and for those that have not played it, I would say give it a shot. But for what it was like, and I don't even think it was a full price title. I think it was like an expansion or something. It was amazing from what I recall. I have good memories with that. Um, yeah, I think another one here I see on the list here was Warcraft Orcs and Humans on the PC in 1994.
the OG Warcraft.
I would say probably one of my first PC games that I fully purchased with my childhood money allowance. I bought it at CompUSA. Is that still a thing?
Oh yeah, it was a thing. It's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, okay, it's not a thing anymore. Yeah, I bought it. I bought CompUSA. Which, speaking of big box PC games, has the biggest box. It was amazingly.
The battle chest.
It was huge. I didn't even have the battle chest. I got it the first one when it first came out, where you have the orc and the human staring down at each other. Right, that was in the big like red box. Yeah, I just remember getting that because I thought like the strategy game was really cool. Orcs versus humans was really cool. The art caught me, right? The box art caught me. Even the in-game art caught me as well. Let's see what else we got here. Dead or Alive 3 on the Xbox. A lot of Xbox titles in 2001. One of my favorite Dead or Alives. I do like 2 hardcore a little bit better, but 3 was really good in my opinion.
Wasn't 3 the first one to be like fully updated, upgraded? I just remember 3 like caught a lot of eyes because it was like it released day one with the Xbox, but it seemed like a pretty big graphical jump. I think that was one of the reasons a lot of people bought it.
Yeah.
It was the best looking one at the time because DOA 2 hardcore like matched with it, but we all know the Xbox graphics was way better than the PlayStation 2, right? But it's what they did with it, and then it was another showcase game in my opinion. If Halo Combat Evolved was your first person shooter, this was your fighting game that you would get when the Xbox first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of things coming out also that day, the PlayStation 4 released that day. That's the wrong caption, but back in 2013. So 2013.
Now, with the PS4, I got my PS4 as a birthday present. Hint, hint. But I got it as a birthday present in. Well, wait a minute. The PS4 dropped in when was it again? It was what 2013.
Yep.
I literally got it like a year later because one of my good buddies from middle school, he basically bought that for me for my birthday, but wasn't able to send it to me until like a couple months later because he was busy working and he also lives like across the country. But like when he was finally able to send it to me, I basically got it on his birthday in February. But I got my PS4 and it's like there were a couple of games that I had already played and also imported on the PS3 that actually wound up getting PS4 releases, namely Dynasty Warriors 8.
Okay.
To the surprise of no one. And also Sengoku Basara 4.
So, I think like also I want to add that the photo on here is like the classic PlayStation shell, it's which is super cool. I don't think this is the anniversary one because the buttons on the controller are not the anniversary type. I think so.
Yeah, I want to eventually find that one.
I think I got my PS4 relatively easy. I got it like a couple of years after it came out. I was trying to squeeze out every, game on the PS3 before I switched over because I knew it wasn't going to play PS3 games. And I
Mhm.
really wanted to like close out that chapter in my gaming career, So took 2 years after that. I like to say it was it wasn't like a big upgrade when it came to graphics, but the speed and like even the changes in the UI and then like the quality of life things on the console definitely was a great improvement over the PS3. And I just wish that it played PS3 games, but at the same time, not surprised because the PS3 ran in its own proprietary graphics, so I'm not gonna hope for the best on that. Nicholas, got any stories on the PS4? I'm sure you do.
Sure I do, but I don't want to take up people's time with it. We got one more day to cover.
Okay.
And I definitely want to encourage because there's a couple people that have messaged me as well. If you have stories about the games we're talking about, childhood memories, that's the whole point of this first hour of us being together. Is just reminiscing about stories that we have about the titles that shaped gaming history in our own.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate the couple DMs that I got to. One of the ones that I got a DM about is the one I'm going to be talking about for tomorrow, for tomorrow's date, or not tomorrow, sorry, the 16th.
Okay. All
Tomorrow
right.
on this.
This day on gaming on the 16th. Gex on the 3DO came out in 1994. So I don't
Woo!
know. I love the ESRB on there, kids to adults, which is hilarious in my opinion. But does that okay? First of all, has anybody played Gex? The
Yeah.
OG Gex. Okay. Second, chat. Do you guys even know about Gex way back in the day? But fun fact about Gex, HBO comedian Dana Gold, it was the voice actor for Gex in this game. He had about was this 300 hilarious one-liners and sound effects. So keep in mind this is 1994. Gex's mouth gets him in trouble, but it's his thrashing tail and suction cup paws that get him out. Gex has been sucked into the media dimension, the place where cheesy 70s movies go to retire. To escape, he's got to kill TVs in each world. That is an amazing plot for a stoner.
Right?
That is great. The fact that they're kind of like ripping on the 70s in the 90s. Now we're like 2024 and we're going back to the 90s. It's kind of crazy. That's kind of wild to me.
I think it's the sweet Ray Bans that really sell me.
Yeah, but what size are those? You have Ray Bans in size chameleon? Like, do you have that? But yeah, I think it's a originally a platforming game. So if you guys played Gex,
Yep.
more props to you. But there were some other releases that day as well. One that is near and dear to me and Nick is Left 4 Dead 2 on the PC in 2009 because we actually have a playthrough of that on the YouTube channel. So check that out when you guys get a chance. And then a few other titles here, fighting related actually. MK versus DC Universe on the 360 back in 2008, and Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 on the PS2 back in 2004. So, what do you guys have for this, Nick or Ace? What you got?
Oh, I'll let Ace go because everyone knows what he's going to talk about.
Of
Oh yeah,
course. Of course. We don't even need to introduce it. But anyway, another another game that you could see I grabbed as a birthday present that year. Back in 2005, Dynasty Warriors 5 Extreme Legends, the expansion to probably one of the most refined games in the series, like even to this day, honestly. That popped off on the PS2, and it expanded more on the Destiny mode originally introduced in the core game for Dynasty Warriors 5. So again, you had your own separate story mode that you could play through in Dynasty Warriors 5 as your own custom character, starting as just a regular, well, basically starting as a peon under one of the playable generals, working your way up to becoming an officer and a general of in your own right. So Yeah, Extreme Legends. Extreme Legends was awesome. It introduced it introduced a couple more characters to the series. Sorry, but trying to keep this short because I could talk about this
Yeah, we know.
forever. Like, this is also, again, continued Koei Tecmo's tradition of having expansion, of being one of the few console games that actually had expansion discs that you could use in conjunction with the original to to increase the amount of content that you could play off of that first disc.
Do you really need the disc or just a memory card?
No, you do need the disc.
Really? Okay.
Mhm.
Never mind.
Technology.
The tech, though. Speaking of tech, I think the next game really impressed the tech world when it came out. Nick?
This is one of my something we get a lot when we work in the retro video game space is a lot of people want to know what your favorite games are, and I can say from years of having to broaden my horizons and try a bunch of different stuff, it's very hard for me to nail down even my top 10 because there's just so many things that I like or different experiences that I had. However, this title in 2004 on 11/16 is one of my favorite games of all time. It's still a benchmark for me, something that's very important to my gaming history. And still has a Metacritic score after all this time of 96. So generally considered to be one of the best games ever made. And that's Half-Life 2, came out in 2004.
Oh,
I still go back and play this every once in a while. I'm still heartbroken that we never got episode 3 or Half-Life 3 or any kind of continuation on the cliffhanger ending we got. But I don't know how many other people ended up playing that or had that in their history or approached that gaming series after the fact. But yeah, Half-Life 2, massive, huge. And like I said, a couple people that DM'd me mentioned this title as well for them. So it's really cool to see that we get to talk about this one again and kind of relive it and just remember how many memories that I had with it. So just kind of a cool thing to end on for me.
I also think like the Half-Life games brought on other games that were, that use Half-Life as a skeleton, like Counter-Strike we talked about the last episode, right? Built on Half-Life. Half-Life 2 was that the new Counter-Strike, like what is that? World Strike, whatever, is
mhm.
based on the Half-Life 2, like and all the numerous amount of other mods are all based from Half-Life, which is like that has to be said, greatly for the industry as as using it as a standard.
It was also one of the first games to really do physics-based puzzles on that kind of
Mm,
scale.
yep.
I remember that started a whole trend of games having to have those kind of puzzles, and that was in a shooter game, and all of a sudden you have these puzzles in there as well. And it's still creepy to walk around Ravenholm. I don't know if anyone, I don't know if we mentioned it on this podcast, but if you're a fan of Half-Life 2 and you have a friend who has money, because I have friends who have money, I don't have money. If you get a chance to play Half-Life Alex, that was the first time I realized that Half-Life 2 and the Half-Life 2 universe was actually a horror game. It wasn't until I got that headset on and you're running out of ammo and a head crab scientist is like coming at you and you only have 2 bullets, you have to aim it. Like, it is creepy as hell. And it's something that I didn't quite get until I played Alex, but it just made me want to replay 2.
I love getting surprised by games because we set expectations mentally, and you kind of prepare for it when you play it. But as the game surprises you in a positive way, of course, I feel like you get extra bang for your buck, and more respect for the game if it shocks you in any way that you didn't expect. So I think that's super cool. All right, well that wraps up. If you guys don't have anything else, that wraps up this week in gaming history. Lots to talk about. Like I said, we love hearing your contributions to if to any of the topics we talked about. If you have any topics that you guys want to share, feel free to hit us up on chat or DM me or tag us on Twitter, whatever. Just get your voice heard out there because this is content we like to share, and if you want to share your content, feel
Yeah,
free to let us know.
and also
We
leave
love
it in the
hearing your
comments too
stories
when
as
you see
well.
this on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
definitely. We love hearing your stories. It's the whole reason we do this is to talk about our love of it and just hearing your own connections as well is just something that's always was cool, especially when we're working behind the counter. Just hearing
hmm
people come in and kind of share the experiences that they had with a game or being able to connect with like something that they loved. I'm like, oh man, I never played that. I got to add that to my list now.
I feel like we need to one of these episodes. We need to do like tales from the counter, like because that'll be
Confessions, counter
yeah,
confessions,
a lot of
Mm,
stories working behind that
yeah.
counter on the other side. So, but yeah.
alphabetizing all
Oh
the time.
gosh, here's the thing: if you alphabetize games at your local store that you work at, do you do it at home? I know I do.
Yeah,
I
I
did
do.
not. I was like, I do this at
I
work.
know you don't. I've seen your room, and it terrifies me because I something that my now wife mentioned when we first started dating was like, "Why do you alphabetize like the DVDs and the Blu-rays and your games?" And I'm like, "You don't understand. I have to do it all day, every day. It's a habit, and it makes me feel anxious when it's not alphabetized." And then you have to have the conversation. Do you alphabetize by the? Is it, the Hobbit, or is it Hobbit? Like
Ugh.
it's a thing. It's a thing that it still bugs me. If you come up here now, you'll see my steel books are organized and alphabetized and by console. Like it's a thing. That's my counter confession. I take that shit home with me.
I think I'm just intimidated by my own hoard that I don't want
Oh, I
to.
was intimidated when I walked in there too, and I saw all of the like collector's editions that are still sealed. I'm like,
Yeah,
I want to look inside them.
yeah, yeah. I do too. I'm scared, scared of my own purchase. All right. Well, we got some figures here, guys. We got some good stuff here for some news that we want to chat about. But
Mhm.
yeah, Sony reveals new PS5 sales figures, says a mix of single player and live service games are coming. Oh, there it is. There's that evil word, live service games. Sony just revealed new sales numbers for the PS5 and set expectations on what kind of games will be coming in the future of the console. Funny because Concord didn't work out. In a new financial report from Sony, the company said it shipped about 33.8 million PS5 consoles during the second quarter of the fiscal year from July 2024 to September 2024. That was 29% drop from the same time period last year. The new lifetime total units shipped is now 65.5 million, making the amount of just shy of 67.5 PS4 units shipped when it was in the same period of its lifespan.
Hmm.
Now, that is a lot of consoles here. On the bright side, Network Services Division brought in about 7 billion, a 12% year over increase. Sony attributed this third-party games on the PS5 platforms, including an action RPG from China, Black Myth Wukong, which is most likely referring to Black Myth Wukong. The game sold 18 million copies within the first 2 weeks of release. Sony's network services revenue increased 18% year over year during the same time period last year. According to Sony, this was a result of subscribers joining higher tiers of PlayStation Plus and increased subscription prices. Sony also commented on its upcoming portfolio of releases, saying that it would continue to have a mix of both single player and multiplayer games. It acknowledged that while Helldivers 2 was a huge success and also a failure in some ways, the cancellation of the Last of Us 2 multiplayer game and the removal of Concord provided lessons on how to move forward with its live service plans. So, Sony previously stated that it would not have any more major first party releases until April 2025. However, single player follow up to Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yote, is slated for next year, and Haven Studios' live service game Fair Games is still in development. So, what I'm getting from this, guys, is that they saw the success of Helldivers and the failure of Concord, and they saw Black Myth Wukong, right? Those are the three key games I think they kind of like talked about in the article, and they're going, okay, people like single player games. All right, wow, Concord failed, but Helldivers succeeded. So it's like I think they're a little bit confused on what gamers want because you can tell it's like mixed messaging, right? But I think I can comfortably say that Sony is in no way in trouble, even though a couple of their games failed and canceled. They're still the industry leader right now, and I hope they get some competition soon. To be honest, because with that PS5 Pro price tag, I think they really are abusing their monopoly on
Yes, they
in the
are.
industry right now. So, what do you guys think?
I mean, that's something that's been a conversation, like a common conversation in the industry, honestly. every time that Sony has a amazing faraway success, they get a little bit full of themselves or start making decisions that are very like, you know what, well, if you don't like it, that's okay. We'll still sell it. They don't say that specifically. That just kind of is the vibe. Remember the PS2, the best-selling game console of all time, the amazing things that console did and set benchmarks. And look what they did with the 3, the 6-axis controllers, the like weird backwards compatibility with the different hard drive sizes and SKUs. You remember? I don't know if you remember the original PS3 like display controller they had that looked like a boomerang, and the joke
The
was you try
boomerang.
to throw it, you got throw it in the trash, will just come back. Like they got arrogant, right? Exactly as Andre says. And then so the 5 is kind of the same thing because the 4 was a runaway success for them as well. It blew
Mhm.
away the Xbox One when that came out. They pretty much won the that entire generation because of what they did with the 4. So now the 5's out, and then you're seeing some of their stuff like Concord fail. They're starting to invest in different things, but I mean, they're hitting out of the park with a lot of their other properties. You'll notice that the stuff that's kind of failing is more like third party ish stuff. The stuff that does well is also kind of propping them up because they don't have a lot of first party stuff out right now. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of like first party like Sony Studios release stuff that tends to fail with these generations. It tends to be like the guiding light for a lot of people balancing like, do I want an Xbox or do I want a PlayStation? While the PlayStation exclusives are few and far between, but they're very good.
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of where you go. So yeah, Concord failing, but Helldivers 2 doing well. Is this eventually they're gonna keep trying and find the live service thing that works for them that's going to make them a bunch of money, because we know that live service just prints money for developers. It's got to be right, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, maybe a little arrogant, but let's put it into context. What was it, 65.5 million units sold? That's more than the original Famicom. It's almost as much as a 3DS in its lifetime. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's moving up the charts pretty quickly.
It's only like 2 million away from the PS4 ship, and in a shorter amount of time, also.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pushing
it'll blow
units.
that. Yeah,
And I think honestly, like having it backward compatible made it an easy choice, right? I don't need this PS4 anymore. I'm gonna get a PS5. Easy choice, right? If you don't, not saying get the Pro, I'm just saying like if it didn't play 4, a lot of people tend to kind of like second guess, kind of like what I did with PS3 to PS4, because now I have this library of games I can't play, right? And it's a little bit daunting, and I think most people will share the sentiment that like you feel like you wasted a lot of money if you can't bring those games with you, right? It's an investment if you're looking to abandon another console for a newer one. That's just kind of like my thought on that. That's always been
yeah.
a thing for me.
I
Ever
think for me,
since,
especially just on that same thought, just because I think you bring up a good point about like, you know, is it worthwhile for me to get it? For me, when you think about the PS5, there's not a lot of reasons for me to play that console. The reason I bought it, like we talked about early on, I bought it in that first year for the exclusives that it had because they were far and away better than what I was getting elsewhere at the time. Like I loved Horizon Zero Dawn when that came out. That gave me a reason to own that system. For people nowadays, it's the Insomniac Spider-Man series. You know, it's going to be the God of War games that Sony Santa Monica is putting out. Again, those first party titles, the reason you own it, but it's again few and far between. What are we getting now? We're getting a lot of live service games. We're getting things like their investment in Destiny and seeing where that's going and how that's kind of failing right now with the reorgs they're doing. Like it's you'd think by looking at it on the surface level, it's like, why are you going to continue to do these live service games? But then you look at the mobile market and realize how much money these companies are making on these online service stuff. And it's crazy.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like live service stuff is the what is that? The next level extremity away from DLC, right? It's like before it was you get your purchase, and then the way they got more money from you was DLC, right? And we knew how that worked out during that time with even in fighting games, costumes, characters, etc.
Mhm.
So there's some stuff about that. But now they're going the extra level. Hell, there's like reading about Ubisoft and they have a monetization manager. they have a guy responsible on how to make more money beyond the initial purchase, which is totally fine. It's a business, I get it, but to live stream is something that I don't think will go away because it's very profitable for them.
But something that's not a detriment or something that feels like really in your face and predatory, and that's something you could say about some of the live service stuff like Ubisoft has done, or adding another service on top of it where you'd have to log into their specific game store with
Yeah.
the points that you get. And it's just like keeping track of all of that. It reminds me of what happened with EA as well. Like there's an EA launcher for a lot of my games still that I bought on Steam. And it's like, yeah, it's on Steam, but you have to load up the EA app in order to get into your
Yeah.
game, and then you have to deal with their ads and monetization as you're jumping between all these hoops. So,
Oh, that's why there are certain games that came out on PlayStation Plus that were free that I was just like, no, I'm not going to do it. I wasn't even going to download them because the moment I did, and it's like, okay, let me try and play this. Like Steep, for example. I wanted to get into some decent snowboarding, but as soon as that second signing came up for the EA launcher, I was like,
it's interesting that you
miss me
mentioned
with
that as
that.
well, to be honest. Like, I know that I very rarely downloaded the PS Plus games. I almost always got the games for gold when those were still a thing, and still, when Xbox is there free games
Mhm.
until the last like couple years. I always felt like the value was better there. But it just seems like again, like Sony's getting a little complacent or a little bit like a little too confident and just releasing titles. You're just like, okay, Sony, but why are there like three tiers now to my PlayStation Plus kind of thing? It
Yeah,
was just like
exactly.
I had Plus, but it's not like Plus Pro or Plus Exclusive or Plus. It's just like Jesus.
Plus
Okay,
gold, plus
yeah,
silver, right?
right.
Yeah,
With I mean, even Xbox to an extent with their Xbox Gold and then Xbox Ultimate and then Xbox Ultimate PC. Like, I
yeah,
understand them diversifying. It's still a little easier to understand than what Sony did, but that just goes to show, like, if they can monetize it or find a way around it and hopefully add value to it, a company's going to do that. They're going to try to get that revenue so they can put money behind projects that they believe in. It may be a Concord or it may be a Helldivers 2. We don't know.
yeah. And I think, like, to me, like I said, I feel like these other games should fuel games that don't have that practice. Like, if they're gonna say we're still gonna make single player games, well, how are they gonna fund that, right? Funding it using the live service like monetization, right? That I think that's clever of them to keep the money internally, right? But some of the stuff doesn't really make any sense. Like, for example, like Helldivers and their situation with having a PSN login, right? Stuff like that. Um, I know those are small details, but those small details affect a lot of different people, and that would cause them to buy or not buy, right?
Oh yeah, there's a huge pushback with Helldiver 2's like requirement to log into your PlayStation account.
Mhm.
Didn't
Yeah,
that I'm pretty sure that didn't that close them out from some certain territories as well?
yeah,
Yes.
because they don't have PlayStation in those certain territories, right? And I think that was a thing that maybe there was an oversight. They just didn't realize that was going to happen, right? But I do remember them saying like it will eventually get it. They didn't lie. People just don't read. I mean, I don't read the things either. I'm not going to lie about that. But and the service and terms and conditions, they said like they will eventually have to get a PSN account, but not necessarily on launch of Helldivers 2, right? So it was just in fine print. People didn't read it, right? But regardless of that, I still think it's if you started it without a PSN account, you should be able to continue without a PSN account. Is what I'm saying. Any post downloads after that when they start making it live, then yeah, maybe then, but not before. You know.
And it's maybe like getting away from the like sales figures talk we were talking about, but that does remind me a lot of what Blizzard does with some of their titles. Remember Warcraft 3 Reforged?
Mm,
You couldn't play your original Warcraft 3 anymore that you had tied to your BattleNet. I had it tied to my BattleNet. The moment you buy Reforged, it overwrites it. You can't play the OG anymore because of the
yeah.
way that they set up their service. So you have to play Reforged,
Yeah.
which was awful.
No, yeah, and you're like,
Basura.
and here's the thing too. It's like you didn't buy that game, or you didn't.
Yeah.
You bought a separate product before that, right? So if it's so different than what it was promised before, than with your original purchase, I still think you should be able to play the old one. But and this is why they want you playing on their platforms, like you said, because now they have control over it because you're in their territory, right? So they know what they're doing. So it's sometimes not in our favor. I do want, before we kind of like linger on this topic, I do want to address like the live service topic. I think the future of live service needs to be something interactive with the community, because live service is what brings people back to play, and fresh new content every season, right? But I feel like even on a weekly basis or daily, just like Helldivers 2, where they have a GM pretty much. I love that idea that a GM is kind of like talking with or interacting with the gamers in some way or form, because that makes it like more interesting for the players to be like, what does Neil the GM have in store for us today? It makes it feel like people are paying attention. Like if you're I don't know if you guys have played a lot of Helldivers. I know Nick you have, but you know having success in one area, they pay attention to that and they start altering what the next quest is going to be to make it more difficult, more challenging for the community. I think that little investment in making the live service more interactable with its community is something the future of gaming needs to pay attention to, because people look forward into seeing what's next, especially when it's catered or pit against like a GM. I think that's super fun in my opinion. I don't know if there's any other games out there. I think that'd be a good rhetorical topic to for the down the road, in my opinion as
Yeah,
well.
maybe it'd be a very interesting discussion to have, because then you got to weigh it against the business. How much content we talking? What is it going to cost? How are you going to maintain it? Like, there's a middle ground that sometimes it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with gamers. Just to understand the nickel and dime behind it. But yeah, there should be a happier median than what we're getting right now.
Here's the next article is not very happy in my opinion, just because I am a collector, but I'll throw it up here right now. Sega to pull from article from PC Mag. Sega to pull 60 games from Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch stores. Hits from Sega's decades of gaming history will soon be unavailable in many of the world's largest gaming stores. If you want any of them, make sure you buy before December 6th. Sega is to delist 60 of its vintage games from Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. The wave of removals will impact numerous well-loved titles from the Sega Dreamcast, Genesis, and Saturn console eras. These include best-selling driving simulator Crazy Taxi, Sega Bass Fishing, and award-winning platformer Jet Set Radio, and an action-adventure game Shinobi. Gamers will have till December 6th at midnight Pacific Standard Time to buy the titles before they are taken down. Customers who have already purchased them will still be able to download and play the game. The Sonic franchise owner declined to give a reason for the mass delisting, but it comes amid rumors it is set to reboot some of its oldest franchises. In July, Sega posted a job ad for a developer for an open world reboot of Crazy Taxi. That sounds awesome. Meanwhile, at the Game Awards in 2023, Sega announced plans for Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi to be reimagined for the modern audience. In a March earnings call, Sega hinted at the possibility of producing more video game movies based on its franchises. After 2020's live-action Sonic the Hedgehog adaptation grossed 350 million worldwide. The company said that coordinating movie and video game releases would be extremely effective from a market perspective. I would love to see a Streets of Rage movie. Simple. It would be kung fu, martial arts, and just the fighting. That's all I care about. Gangsters.
This also has that banging soundtrack, man.
I'm sure they would. I'm
It's
because
better.
it's legendary.
Well, it's going to be something where it's like they walk past the Streets of Rage arcade machine and it's like playing in the background or something like that.
I feel like they would have like a montage, maybe like a scene where they just fight and they have that music in the background for like 30 seconds or something. I feel like that's all.
I'd watch it.
I would love to watch it. That's another rhetorical. Yeah. So this is why chat community students. This is why you buy physical, right? Because they get to control what goes on stores, what they can pull. It's their games. It's their business. It's their IPs. So one day you'll wake up and next thing you know, you can't download the game that you always wanted to download. This is why you get physical. Keep it with you, dear, near and dear, like the headmaster over here and his horde in the back. So this is why I suggest that. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
I mean, it hits just as hard for me as like the delistings and store closures for like the eShop on the Wii U, and you know like the like a lot of the older like PlayStation, the older PSN titles from like the PS3 and early PS4. That stuff getting a lot of that stuff getting delisted. It's just it's a serious blow to game collection and game preservation.
Yeah, the biggest one being game preservation for me. There's a lot of stuff lately that's there's been a whole discussion around how there's going to be a lot of games that we will never be able to see, touch, or hear or play ever again because they are lost forever. Something like this shows a really cool thing. Like if you can let your friends know, like, hey, I remember you being really into this. It's going to be gone forever. It's cool to like bring that up, but it sucks that you're never going to be able to get them again. Maybe if they do another compilation down the line when they feel they need to wheel it back out. But I don't know about you, Ace. But last week we were talking about the Switch too when that comes out. Now we did hear we're going to be able to play the Switch games that you bought on your Switch too, so that's nice. But that's not always the case.
Exactly. Like, I mean, hell, this is also why I am a very, very big proponent of emulation as well. Because again, it's that preservation. There's so much lost media now. Stuff that's out of print. I mean, hell, we can take it back to something as recent as the PlayStation 3. A lot of Activision's titles from the PS3, like Transformers Devastation, like Deadpool. Hell, speaking of Transformers, the War and Fall of Cybertron games.
I completely forgot about those. I just remember the amount of people clamoring for the Deadpool game now too. It's become a collector's item in the physical space, which I mean that's a discussion about games you can't get anymore because their IPs are in limbo or their licenses are in limbo. Stuff we're never gonna see again, and now the retro market is good luck if you get it, and if you do, and now it's getting like graded, and you can buy your copy of Deadpool on the PS4 for a couple $100.
Right.
I don't have a copy of Deadpool. I need one.
It's like I used to have a copy of Deadpool and even did a review for it.
Barbarian was when I was younger. I liked dual wielding. You're asking about D&D or Diablo 2 characters?
Yeah, we're just talking about so Blue was mentioning like Diablo 2 after the debacle that was reforged. A lot of people were like, why do I have BattleNet anymore? Why do I have this? I'm just gonna uninstall it. But Blue was saying how they were attached to Diablo 2. So I was like, oh
Mm,
sweet. Diablo 2, one of my favorites. What did you roll with? And it looks like Barb.
yeah. Actually, this is my D&D shirt. We all wear our classes during our sessions, and this is my Barbarian shirt, which is funny.
Nice. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to say something? Go ahead.
just a real quick aside as far as Diablo 2 goes. Like I played through a good chunk of it, but like really the big thing for me with Diablo 2 was I had the strategy guide back then.
Mm.
That nice little meaty tome.
God, I feel like we'll have a this week in gaming history about all the old shit that was out that's not out anymore. That'd be fun. All right, noted. Hot Christmas special. But since we're on the topic, I wanted to find my copy of Sega Genesis Classic. So buy physical, guys. You don't have to worry about this BS if you have physical. The disc is right here, right? I can load it up whenever I want to. It also came with a sick ass poster. This very like Sega 1990s like look at the Streets of Rage poster. Ah, it's so cool.
That's dope.
And you're like, oh man, but I don't like fighting games. Well, that's too bad because you got Golden Axe on the other side, you little baby.
That's too damn bad.
That's right. So you got your choice there. I mean, that in itself is worth the $20. So I'm saying.
I remember the moment we started freaking out at the game stores when there was no longer instruction booklets.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's
Started to open up those cases when you were gutting them, and there was just no instruction booklets
You
anymore.
just
Just
have
some
the
warnings on
warranty.
the
Yeah,
inside
the
of
warnings.
the
I was like,
warnings on the inside of the cover arts. But yeah, no, that was a sad day, man. You just get your lore from those things, not just the controls, but like the world building and everything. That's something that I miss definitely is
yeah.
having the instruction booklets in there just for some
Gosh.
nuance. before
Oh
I go on
wow.
GameFAQs and read how to beat it.
Yeah. Oh wow. Game. I feel like GameFAQs should have just like faded into oblivion, but they're still there. They're still kicking strong. So
And they're
that's
still
amazing.
releasing guides with ASCII 2 like titles on it. Like
Yes.
it's so good. Like that, and we were talking about like game preservation before Ace. I don't know if you've been on a abandonware and looked at some of the like the old gaming IPs that have like relapsed and are still around. It is worth looking at some of those old like trash heaps of
I
games
do.
that have just been completely abandoned.
I do need to go back. I do need to go look at that.
All right. So we got one more article here, guys. Unless you guys want to keep talking about
No,
Sega.
we could talk all night about this. Let's move on.
You got it. All right. So this one here, I am not the resident BL player here, but I do dabble. But Borderlands 4 release window has been narrowed down. Apparently, I didn't know it was a huge mystery, so that's kind of fun.
I think they had a
Borderlands.
broad release date, and this is more they're trying to narrow it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm glad my ad for Rolaids is here. They know I'm old. Great.
He's got
Borderlands.
called out, man.
Borderlands. It's not that cold down here. Damn. Borderlands 4 may be aiming for a summer 2025 or early 2026 release. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick does not want to release the game too close to Grand Theft Auto 6. Smart guy. 4 new Vault Hunters will appear in Borderlands 4, which also will be set on an all new planet. All right. Let's see. New comments made by the Take-Two CEOs have helped me narrow down the release window for Borderlands 4, either 2025 or early 2026 launch. Revealed during Gamescom opening night, live in August 2024, BL4 promises to transport players to an all new planet for a fresh looter shooter adventure. 15 years after the first Borderlands title was released in 2009, the franchise is going strong, boasting 4 mainline titles and several spin offs, along with a comic series, a collection of novels, and a physical card game. Did not know they had those other games. That's cool. While the live action Borderlands film was a massive office flop, the games themselves remain beloved pieces of gaming culture, with the most recent main entry to the series, Borderlands 3, selling over 18 million copies and boosting the franchise total revenue of over $1 billion. Fans are eager for any news regarding the upcoming next entry, and it looks like the wait for BL4 may be potentially be shorter than previously thought. Um, that's pretty sweet. Is there more? Or is it different? Oh, it's like the same. What are you guys' thoughts on BL4? So I remember like them talking about in an interview of why Borderlands was a success, and they're pretty much saying first person shooter with Diablo 2 mechanics, right? Diablo 2 like I don't know, like features, right? Like dungeon looter shooter stuff like that, and it's never been done before. And they were like, I'm surprised no one has ever done it or no one's ever copied us. They were so like sure about it, and that's what the secret of their success was. And clearly, it is a success. I think the addition of like the charming characters helped with that, right? They were so unique and so different from one another, and they talked to one another and they had interactions with each other. Kind of going back to the whole like characters make a game, and you know what makes a purchase for a lot of people.
That's
So,
very true.
do you think this will? I'm not sure this will be like PS5, Xbox One only, right? They're
Oh,
not going to do.
Absolutely. It's just
yeah,
going to be.
I think there's already been some conversation about how even some devs are starting to write off the Series S because of how difficult it is to try to make a game that will straddle that line between them, especially with the PS5 Pro
Yeah.
SKU being out there now. I'm kind of like I've got a history where with Borderlands 2, same as Skyrim. I bought that so many times. I mentioned that at the top. That's why it's kind of cool to like talk about this on the podcast. For me, I did not enjoy 3. I played the heck out of 2. 3 made me want to go back to 2. Recently, I just finished a actual playthrough of 3. Like I hadn't finished it back in the day when it first released. So I really wanted Borderlands 3 to be good, and it's really interesting to think like where the games came from, where they are now, and how that shades my opinion of 4. Very similar to what Blue is saying in the comments. Like I'll probably wait on 4 to be honest. And that sucks because I was a big fan of the series. The original game, I don't know if many people remember when Game Informer did a cover spread on that thing. If I remember right, it was Game Informer. I'm pretty sure it was Game Informer, but it was like ultra realistic. The original vision for Borderlands
I remember
was a
that.
very
Like
realistic
Mad Max,
art
right?
style, like Mad Max, exactly.
Mhm.
So the fact that it became cell shaded was like indicative of like the technology and the restraints that they had at the time. But it was weird to think that it went from that Mad Max kind of style to a little melodramatic, kind of fun, then fully into like tongue in cheek, and then meme culture by three. So it's like, where does that entire like series of games go
It's
after the big like flop of the movie and the weird announcement timing that Randy Pitchford decided to do when announcing 4 kind of randomly out of nowhere with this weird fanfare behind it. It just seems odd. Like, do you think it's going to be another misstep? Is it just going to be more mistakes that we saw in 3, or will they learn from 3?
Will
Ace.
they learn from 3? That is the hope.
Is a pre-sequel better than 3?
I would say the pre-sequel was fine. It was kind of that thing where a lot of people, we kind of talked earlier about Assassin's Creed and burnout. I think a lot of people were burnt out by the time that pre-sequel came out. It wasn't the original cast of characters because it was a different story. It was done by the 2K Australia team. So it was like
Mm.
a little bit of a different writing, a different vibe. It was a different team behind it. And it was off the hot tails of 2, which set a lot of expectations for people, and it didn't differentiate itself enough.
Could have been
Also, I'll be
DLC.
honest, you got to play as Claptrap in that game, and he was a super annoying teammate to work with. Because his special, beyond like his quips, however you feel about Claptrap,
Yeah.
right? His special would randomly just fuck with your party. Like it would take stuff away or add things or make it really weird. Like a super like troll kind of thing, and it fit the character, but it seemed a lot of people were kind of put off by that, or it seemed obnoxious, so it just didn't hold up to what 2 was. It's hard to follow up you know
Yeah.
Handsome Jack and the story that you had in 2 and the way that 2 expanded everything. And then you got pre-sequel, which, like I said, it wasn't bad. It's just not really what people expected. And some people were burnt out. And then 3 was what it was. I mean, we just mentioned how well 3 sold. It sold well. It wasn't like it was a failure, but for a lot of like long time fans, it certainly didn't feel that way. And the biggest thing being like the writing of the big bads in that one.
Mm. I have a suspicion that BL4 may be live service with seasons. I just have a suspicion that they're gonna go in that direction. That's all I'm saying.
I could see them doing something like a battle pass for additional content that they can monetize,
Yeah.
something where they can inject new content into the game and fund additional content. I don't see them going full live service though. It just doesn't seem like the DNA of it. Will they do it? I don't know. It may happen. I could see them doing it. I don't think that'll be the case, but that's just my take. But like I said, I could easily see them do something like a battle pass, something like what Diablo 4 does now, where you get like the new season and you can
Mhm.
play through a battle pass, or you can buy the premium version to get additional stuff. Like I could see that easily being in there, especially for cosmetics. A lot of people love collecting cosmetics. Put it behind a little bit of money or a little bit of time grind, and I'm sure that'll
Yeah.
be even more looter shooter goodness for them. For me, though, the reason I brought this article was thinking about like exactly like Blue said in the chat, like avoiding Grand Theft Auto 6. Remember
Yeah.
how we were talking how much like the beginning of the year is just caked with games
Mhm.
and our wallets are crying already. We haven't
2000
even seen
broke.
what's happening at the end of the year yet, but that void space around Grand Theft Auto 6, how many games are going to have to completely change their development timelines or plans just because of that game and how massive it's going to be?
I honestly think they should push everything back for GTA 5, GTA 6 to just roll out because that would be the smartest and it would make your game better and less bugs on launch and stuff like that. But I understand they have quotas and stupid like investors like, hey, what's happening this quarter? This is why I think our games are messed up. I don't want to go into that rant, but honestly, in
A rant
the
for a different day.
yeah, in that exhibition where like you're trying to compete with GTA 6, everybody should be like the CEOs of the company, all the heads of chair should be like, we need to move away from GTA 6. Maybe like a few months after it comes out because we're not going to get any sales. If because we know, you and I, Nick, that a game doesn't sell in 90 days, it stays on the shelf for a long time, right? So
That it
GTA 6 is just
does.
going to swallow all those priorities.
Well, just think how long of a tail GTA 5 had, and if they're
Yeah,
just improving on all those systems, like I the whole second half of that year is going to be filled up with a lot of things, you know. And
yeah,
if forbid that GTA 6 has like another collector's edition and there's even more money thrown behind it, or what they're going to do with their online service, because GTA Online has been printing money for them too and created an online community for a lot of people. There's an entire group of people that just RP in GTA 5 still, or GTA Online. Like
yeah.
there's a massive fan base there,
It's
and
literally the new PS Home, the GTA
yeah,
RP.
it
Pretty
had to be
much.
because I got rid of home.
Yeah, exactly. So what are you doing now? I used to play PS Home. Now I'm playing GTA RP. So, but yeah, BL4. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, it is a they continue with the cell shaded art style, but like updated a little bit more. I think it was worth the gamble to change it up because I feel like if we had another grungy, like brown first person shooter in that era, I don't think it would have had as much attention as it did.
Well, one thing I did like about 3 was the fact we went to different planets. It was kind of cool to do that. Now, the quality of those planets and how much time you spend on Eden 6 wasn't my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to like explore those new spaces. So, I mean, them going to a new planet sounds like they're going big open world on one planet, like back to Borderlands 2, more of a focus on Pandora or the new Pandora, whatever that
Single
is.
player.
So
Red
we'll
Dead
see.
2 solo use player base. Yeah, I mean, if you give people a reason to come back to your game and you just hang out, people will log in. That's exactly what it is. That's why Red Dead 2, you just meander around the map and see what kind of shenanigans you can get into. That's why people log in.
I mean,
So
that game is just massive. And
yeah,
a really good example of such a well-crafted game and such a great way to approach it in your own play style. You can decide what to do in that world. That's why so many people go back. You can decide to rustle cattle. You could decide to go and rob trains. Like you can do whatever you want. You're given a free tool set for that. So I'm not surprised. I mean, that game was just hyper focused. Like the big kind of joke leading up to it, and it's just kind of funny to talk about it. Like the big focus on horse testicles. The big talk around that game and how it's like it's super accurate to heat and cold. They change. It's a moving animal. We scanned every single muscle in the horse. Like they went out of their way, OCD, to get the amount of like realism in it. That's why that game holds up so well still, and why so many people love to approach it. That
I'm,
there's love put into the world, that detail.
I'm sure they have an RP server too for that game as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
if GTA Online did it, Red Dead does too. I just wish it would be like a Red Dead, but in the style of The Warrior, the HBO series. Like I would absolutely play that.
all right.
I
Well,
don't know if you've watched that. Speaking of kung fu, but
the legendary, what is it? King Fu, the old show.
no, the TV series The Warrior that was on HBO. It takes
Oh
place in
no.
like San Francisco. It's supposed to be a story that Bruce Lee had started writing back in the day, or it's based on his writings. I apologize, but I definitely recommend it. Great, really cool stuff to see. Great action as well.
Okay. Well, speaking of great action and super hype titles, Ace wants to talk about his latest experience because we what do you call this? We influenced him to pick up the mighty Exo Primal. We coerced him to pick it up. I for one still enjoy the game. I think it's great, but I want to know what Ace thinks after getting his hands on it because it is massively on sale right now. But
Yeah. It's
give us like your 5 minute take.
uh well, when Exo Primal came out, I some would say famously, because I did mention this, during a stream, when Exo Primal came out at, the the standard AAA MSRP, $59.99. It came out at $60, and I literally said, you know what? No, I am not paying full price for a live service game. Flat out. Like, I just wasn't going to do it. It didn't have enough to earn my dollar. And just the simple fact that it's, it needs an online connection to play, even to play through the campaign, I wasn't feeling it. The game, over a year on now, is massively discounted. Unfortunately, after season 4, there isn't going to be any further support for the game, so they're just going to go on a, permanent season rotation. But picking this up for $15, yeah, $15, I can get some value out of this. The game itself, though, it's actually proven to be a hell of a lot of fun. Like, I'm enjoying how they actually build the story in the game, because it's the best way I can describe this is Dino Crisis meets Pacific Rim meets Groundhog Day. And
put it on the cover.
Yeah, you get what you see on the cover. But the fact that as you keep going, repeating this same day, repeating combat on the same day, picking up bits of what they call lost data to uncover the story, it's a really cool method of, I guess this is one of the times where I'd say, drip feeding the story to the players as you go through the game. This is a very effective way to go about it. Now, as far as, going into the game as just, a game, not necessarily, storytelling, I mean, it's the high standard that you come to expect from Capcom games. The game looks great. The game runs really fucking well. It is a snappy piece of hardware. Like, you're not going to experience any sort of slowdowns, even with all of the massive floods of dinosaurs that will be on your screen. Like, this shit does not slow down. Like, the moment you start a fight, the pace stays solid. It stays consistent. And that's actually one of the things that I really love about Exoprimal, frankly. It's the pacing of the gameplay. It's basically drop in, drop out, you get in there, shoot the dinosaurs, leave.
That should be what's on the back of the box. Drop in, shoot the dinosaurs, get out. Exoprimal.
And the designs of the suits, that your Exo Fighter can equip is top notch. It's like if Capcom decided to actually do a hero-based looter shooter like Warframe, they could take these suits from Exoprimal as a good baseline for their roster.
They could relatively bring this, like I said, my Capcom verse idea, right? They could bring these guys back in other IPs. Like, these guys could show up in Dino Crisis. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I mean about how Capcom has a robust library of characters they can pull from. And also, since we were on the topic of guest characters, I feel like that's a good way to get people that play those other games to join in your other games that you may make, right? Because those characters are there, So, well, I'm glad you like it, man.
Yeah, I'll put it to you this way. I like it enough that I'm considering doing a rhetorical on Exoprimal.
Ooh,
but that's for another episode.
All right, awesome. And the fact that I was just like, look at this cool exosuit. It's got tonfas. That's all you really needed is to sell Ace on something. And the pilot's name is Ace. Like, literally, it was like, dude, you got to play this game. So
he was like, look, man, this game is speaking to you and you don't realize it. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Capcom, I need commission, man. You got another sale from me here. So So I'm glad you like it, man. So, but speaking of sales, I wanted to introduce the chat and the audience to our next topic here, the new segment, what I call "What's the Deal." So, I was thinking about the other day when you guys are on the channel, I want you guys to be able to get some value from watching us, right? And I want to be able to kind of relay information, whether it's memories or experiences of the gaming industry. I also want to provide a little bit of tidbits that you would benefit from giving us your time. So this segment is called "What's the Deal," and it's about all the sales that I think that our audience would be interested in. So with that said, I'm gonna have a little bit of music in the background while I continue. So all right, first sale. And 5, the digital slim sale. Unfortunately, the PS5 digital slim is the only one that will be on sale this season at $380. So if you guys are looking for a PlayStation PS5 and you haven't done so yet, I think now is a great time to jump in there, especially if you don't care about physical. It is a good time to kind of like, dip your toes to see if you do like the PS5. That way, if you love it, maybe you can upgrade to the Pro down the road. Looks like the sale will be going for a lot of the retailers. It seems to be a Sony-based price. So go to your favorite retailer and pre-order or just hang out for a PS5 Digital Slim for $380. Now next, if you haven't played one of the greatest games on the GameCube before, they remade it on modern day console. Resident Evil 4, the Gold Edition, will be on sale on the PlayStation Network for $29.99, and I believe that's like the full edition, DLC and everything. And then if you want to get it on Steam, it's $25.99, and it's the DRM is on Steam via Fanatical. So just keep that in mind. It's going to be through Fanatical, not on Steam. Okay, so it's probably a code of some sort. So if you haven't had a chance to play one of the greatest games on the GameCube, one of the best Resident Evil games out there, now's a good time for that. Next one. If you've been thinking about the Steam Deck OLED, now's probably a good time if you like your accessories in white, like I do. Now, I already own a Switch. I have a pretty decent computer. I don't really play a lot of games on the go. But if your whole library is on your computer, why not take your computer with you on a handheld? So I figured that if you guys have a little bit extra money in your pocket, you want to burn that on the Steam Deck, especially the OLED screen in the limited edition white. Right now, it's shipping in limited quantities, available worldwide on November 18th, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, for a measly $680. So, like I said, you guys have extra loot in your pocket. The Steam Deck OLED white is coming out pretty soon. Now, we talked about this earlier. The Sega Genesis Classic on the PS4, like I showed you here, right, is now on sale in Play Asia, along with 2 other titles for $70. So I believe this will kind of net you $35 per game, right? And then 3 games, and they also have a 3-game sale for $70 via Play Asia, free shipping. If you haven't bought from Play Asia before, they're like a Hong Kong-based company where they sell multiple games from different portions of the world, specifically Japan, Malaysia, Southeast Asia. A lot of those Japanese games also come in English as well. So if you have...
remember how I mentioned that I imported a lot of games, like, for example, again, Dynasty Warriors 8, but also the Sengoku Basara games? I imported them through Play Asia.
That's where I get most of my Gundam games from. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely an online retailer to put some stock in, I would say.
Pretty good. And I do have on my Twitch channel an affiliate link on the channel description. It's the one with the DOA girls dancing around in the water. You might want to click on that. Any purchases made through that link will go towards the stream. But if you're looking to pick up a Sega Genesis Classic on sale, along with maybe 2 other games, 3 for $70 on Play Asia, free shipping, which is a great deal. And keep in mind, the Sega Genesis Classics will be delisted on December 6th on Steam, eShop, Xbox, and PSN. And I can't believe my music stopped. I'm sad. It's okay.
I am too.
And then last but not least, the Batman Arkham Collection on the PlayStation 4 via PSN is only $6. That is $2 a game, and they progressively get better as you play through the series.
Yep.
If we're talking about value stream, this is the game that you want to get for $6. If you have $6 in your pocket and you're like, gee, what game should I buy? Probably Batman Arkham Collection, because you'll get what, hundreds of hours in this, right? For less than a Big Mac meal at McDonald's, which is insane to think about, right? Not only we're saving you calories, we're saving you money here at the Gaming Academy.
And also, how expensive are Big Macs nowadays?
Jeez,
look at old menus.
I think they're $9.99 without the combo, which is crazy. Right?
And they got the chicken Big Mac now.
Yeah, which is more, I think. So it's insane. But keep in mind, guys, if you've never played the Batman series, specifically the Arkham series, this is now your perfect time, if you own a PlayStation, to play all 3 Batman games. This is a great value, and this is why I felt like I needed to add this as the finale for tonight's episode. So keep that in mind.
It's also kind of fitting considering that we are just past the anniversary of the unfortunate passing of the voice of Batman, Kevin Conroy.
Facts. Yeah, this is the game that this is the series why everyone's so upset with Kill the Justice League. These games were so good that their expectation for Kill the Justice League, because it was made by Rocksteady Games, it is what it is, right? So this is where it started, and I plead with you guys, if you had never played a Batman game, these are the games to play. My personal story with this game is that I was walking in a GameStop, and the guy working there, his name was Anton, said, "Hey man, have you played the latest Batman game?" I go, "No, I heard comic book games are garbage on on consoles." And he was like, no, try this out. So he put the controller in my hand. I played the demo, and I fought all these guys in like the corridor, and I was doing counters and combos. It felt really good to play, and I was like, I'm gonna buy this right now. He like literally sold me the game by just giving me a controller and trying it when I thought it was garbage. So give it a shot when you can. Batman Arkham Collection. All right, guys. So this is from last time here. So let's click on that. How's everybody doing?
Feeling good, man. This has been an incredible episode. Like, we had a lot to cover.
Anytime we get a chance to talk about Exo Primal, I'm always excited to talk about it. I can't even finish
really,
this sentence.
for me, like the fun bit is everyone in chat with your chiming in tonight. So please keep that coming as well. It's always really cool to see what you have to say about the stuff we're talking about and just your own, again, personal stories. And Blue, shout out to you as well. Thank you for talking about the Barbarian in D2. Very important we cover that.
That's actually the character I'm playing right now in D4. So
there you go.
About that. But yeah, guys, that is another episode to wrap up. Keep in mind that, like I said, it is the holidays, so there's going to be a lot of downtime here. Some of us probably won't be on stream. Some of us will be busy, hanging out with family and stuff like that. But keep us informed.
Are you going to be busy in 3 days? So who you got? You got Tyson or Paul?
Oh yeah. Well, my vote goes to Tyson.
That's my birthday, and I'm
You're not putting money down.
My vote goes to Tyson, but I don't think he's going to win. To be honest with you,
we'll see what happens.
Like my loyalty is like Tyson, but my wallet
your heart is Jake Paul. Tyson.
Yeah, my heart says Tyson to get back at him for knocking me out and punch out multiple times. But yeah, it's think about it this way, guys. It's a 50-year-old man fighting a 25-year-old. That's crazy. That's crazy if you think about that. That's insane. But hopefully, you guys, let me know what you guys think about the fight. We appreciate you guys' support and comments. Like I said, like, subscribe, follow, smash the like button, all the above. Right? Follow us on all our socials. But yeah, every time we see you, thanks for joining us tonight in another episode of the Academy. We covered a lot of exciting topics tonight. Always great sharing these gaming moments with y'all. But I do want to wrap up always with a take from one of the legendary games, Halo 3. A hero is someone who has given their life to something bigger than oneself. Nick, can you quote that from who said that? I don't know, to be honest with you.
Not the top of my head.
Oh, we're all fake gamers here.
No. I can't think of Halo 3 without thinking of the whole Believe ad campaign for that. That for me was the thing that stuck out, the diorama. And my first day working on campus for the Xbox side of things and seeing that diorama is still there
Yeah.
in their lobby in Studio D is it's just so cool.
That's
I gotta be real. Halo had some really good marketing. I'm not a huge Halo fan, but I respect like all the marketing and the games and the world of Halo was like I feel like was something that Sony never got a chance to compete against. They tried it with Killzone, immediately died. Right? It's just Halo is so powerful, too strong, too strong. But keeping it straight, remember in gaming and in life, there's always a new challenge ahead. So keep leveling up, and we'll see you next time. Class dismissed.